The beautiful sights and surrounds of Canberra are a fitting backdrop to showcase the best men and women of the Subaru National Road Series. On the doorstep of our symbol of democracy, the challenging terrain of the third edition of the CIC Australia National Capital Tour is a vote of confidence in favour of the strongest riders. And the 4 stages over 3 days will be a worthy challenge to all the cyclists that take to the start. So far this season, the men's field has been dominated by Avanti Racing's Kiwi Patrick Bevan, who comes to Canberra with an imposing 39-point lead in the overall standings to sprinter Michael Schweitzer from African Wildlife Safaris. After having her lead slashed to only 2 points after Amy's Otway Tour, Ruth Corset from Total Rush Heister will look to take advantage of the absence of High Five Dream Team's Georgia Baker from the start list in Canberra and create a points buffer in a race well suited to her strengths. Canberra really is a stunning location for the next round of the Subaru National Road Series. It's the National Capital Tour. Both men and women are racing over 4 stages. There's a time trial, 2 road stages and a criterium to finish things off. And we've seen in the past that the best riders in the nation really do rise to the top at this particular event because of the difficult nature of the stages. The first edition 2 years ago, Ruth Corset went out the overall winner for the women, and in last year's men's race it was Patrick Bevan, the overall series leader at the moment, that came out on top. And the Kiwi racing for Avanti Racing, Bevan is back to go for another victory. It all kicks off with a 7.5 kilometre short, sharp but hilly time trial. 20 minutes outside of Canberra, the town of Googong was where the time trial was located. 7.3 kilometre out and back circuit, quite windy and very hilly as well, so it was certainly going to be a test for the riders.
Yeah, look, I had a really solid ride out there today. Definitely you have to really sort of pace yourself on the way out, really use that descent and then just lay it all on the line coming back home.
Amongst the early leaders, Kate Perry from Total Rush Heister was the favourite to set the early pace, and when she came across the finish line in the end, it was 13 minutes and 21 seconds for the best time. Surprising everyone, the young 18-year-old Queenslander Ainsley Backer, who's just made the transition from triathlon, came through and smashed Kate Perry's time, going 15 seconds faster.
Yeah, I was really surprised with how it went. It was my first National Road Series. And yeah, I felt great throughout the whole race.
Backer would then have a nervous wait for all the favourites to come to the finish. All eyes were then on the Subaru National Road Series overall leader Ruth Corset when she went to the start. And she powered through the short course that's perfectly suited to the pocket rocket. Very good climber indeed. And when she came to the finish, she was 3 seconds faster than Backer. But the one rider that could challenge Corset's time was the last rider to start, from the High Five Dream Team, Rebecca Wysack. By the time the powerful track rider made her way back to the finish line, she was 17 seconds slower than Corset in 3rd place. So Ruth Corset takes out the opening stage time trial.
Great to get my first stage win for the year, even though I'm leading the series, but I'm really happy with this because looking good for the rest of the tour.
Ruth Corset, the wearer of the CIC Australia yellow jersey.
It was then time for the men to have their first stage time trial, and a big field of 150 riders was full of world-class athletes. While the big guns from Avanti Racing were preparing themselves for their time trial start, the young up-and-coming star from Charter Mason, a part of the Australian track cycling program, Dan Fitter, was out on course and looking strong. When Fitter made it back to the finish line, he was 1 second faster than his teammate Edwards and a new best time. The first of the 2 big favourites to take to the start, Joe Cooper, rolled off the start line and was quickly into a fast rhythm.
Come on, good stuff. Nice pace here, awesome job.
The most crucial part was about a 3.5 minute effort, sort of upper 1.28% climb to almost the finish. So that definitely, put the acid into the legs.
As Cooper was powering up the final hill all the way through to the finish line, it was clear he would set a new best time, and when he hit the finish, it was 20 seconds faster than Fitter. There were still plenty of riders to start after Cooper finished, but really there was only one name on everyone's lips, and that was his Avanti Racing teammate, Patrick Bevan.
Nice ride, mate, nice ride.
Bevan full of confidence after the recent announcement that he'll be riding on the World Tour for the Garmin Cannondale team in 2016. He was quickly up into his rhythm. Knowing Bevan was on a fast time, he was being urged on by his team car as he powered up the last hill and all the way down through to the finish line, and it was a close one in the end, but he was 9 seconds better than Cooper to go out the stage winner and be the first overall leader of the National Capital Tour.
Obviously come away with the wins, very pleasing. Have Joe in second too. It's another dominant start to the tour. We've traded a couple of these time trials now, so it's all right.
Once again, it's a strong performance from the Avanti Racing team, going 1-2 with their two Kiwi imports, Patrick Bevan taking out the stage and the overall race lead from Joe Cooper and Charter Mason's young gun Dan Fitter.
The Kiwi rivalry is pretty strong, and I think the Aussies and the team need to do some serious TT training.
The leader of the National Capital Tour going to day 2, Patrick Bevan from Avanti Racing.
The National Capital Tour Stage 2 is the big ones. The Queen Stage, 97 kilometres for the women and 135 k's for the men, but both stages finish at the very top of the steep Corrandang climb.
Today's stage, there's 2 sprints and 4 categorised climbs. It's going to be a very interesting race, so we'll be looking to be with any break and try and control the race as much as we can.
After the peloton rolled out from Canberra, all of the focus was going to be on the Queen of the Mountain sprints and the time bonuses that are on offer for them. When they came to the first one, Ruth Corset was gunning for those bonuses. She went over the top narrowly in first place to pick up 3-second time bonus. On the third climb, Ruth Corset once again was gunning for those bonus sprints, and she dragged Lucy Betchell, Lucy Kennedy and several other strong climbers off the front with her.
We got a small bunch and we started to roll turns. I noticed that I was outnumbered, so I was trying to get the rest of the teams to work, and we got time gaps of about a minute 18.
The pace was on in between the climbs, lots of attacks, and I felt that there was really just tension building up to the last climb up Corran.
As they approached the base of the climb to Corrandang, the gap had blown out to almost 2 minutes. Surprising all of the climbers, it was the sprinter Ashley Ann Kudinoff that was still in the lead group.
Yeah, Ash and Kudinoff, she's climbing really well. She managed to stay with us, and she was a bit of a threat at the end there because she's quite a good sprinter.
After several failed attacks, no one could actually separate themselves from the lead group on the climb. And as they came down towards the finish, new to the Subaru National Road Series, it was Lauren Fitzgerald that took out the stage win ahead of Lucy Betchell and Justine Barrow.
I've never felt like this before. I can't believe it. I'm stoked.
Ashley Ann Kudinoff.
Ashley Ann Kudinoff now leads the Vi 13 sprint competition. In the Rolf Subaru Queen of the Mountains competition, the new leader is Ruth Corset. And extending her overall lead in the CIC Australia Yellow Jersey Overall Race Leaders competition, it's Ruth Corset heading into the final day.
Rolling out from beautiful Canberra today, it's going to be a really tough day out there today. The hills of Canberra sort of belie the beautiful setting where it's nice and flat around the lake, and yeah, I think it's going to be a cracker of a race because there's a super strong leader in the tour. He's heading to one of the biggest teams in the world after this, but he's got a little bit of a sore knee, so I think the teams are really going to have to take it to him because they can't leave it at the last hill. They won't beat him.
As the peloton approached the first King of the Mountain point, it was the young Kiwi that's been impressing in the Subaru National Road Series, Ryan Christensen, that was gunning for the points.
We had a 50-metre lead over the top of the hill. I thought it was going to stay away, but looks like Charter Mason was closing everything down.
Unfortunately for the tour leader Patrick Bevan, he succumbed to his knee injury and was forced to withdraw from the event. On a fast downhill section of 108 kilometres in, there was a mass pile-up causing carnage as the entire road was blocked by riders.
We went over a right-hand crest and there was a civilian motorbike just in the middle of the road. Everyone's throwing the anchors on, and this is right at the very front. So basically the whole peloton really went down.
A brave move came from Sam Hill as he went solo off the front of the main field. Once the main field started the climb though, it wasn't long before Hill was reeled back in. Looking strong on the front of the main field was the young Victorian Lucas Hamilton from the VIS Jayco Apollo team.
Going full tilt the whole way. Lots of attacks just surging all the time until the group was whittled down to what, maybe 8 of us, and then he was just going too hard.
Yeah, I made a bit of a rookie mistake. I kept looking behind when I really should have just focused on getting to the finish line, but I'm super happy, so nothing's going to get me down now.
It was a commanding solo performance by Lucas Hamilton as he soloed across the line to pick up the stage victory, 37 seconds ahead of Ben O'Connor and 40 seconds ahead of Patrick Lane. Ryan Christensen from Oliver's Real Food now leads the Rolf Subaru King of the Mountains competition. The Vi-13 sprint competition is now led by Saxon Irvine. The new overall race leader is the young Victorian Lucas Hamilton, 6 seconds in front of Joe Cooper, heading into stage 3. Stage 3 of the National Capital Tour for the women is 75 kilometres, starting and finishing from here at the Stromlo Forest Park. Stromlo Forest Park has a purpose-built and pristine criterium course, and the mountain bike trails are some of the best in Australia. They also played host to the World Mountain Bike Championships in 2009. Now the overall race leader Ruth Corset has a handy but small 10-second lead over Queenslander Ainsley Backer, and Backer's Queensland teammate Lucy Kennedy is third at 20 seconds.
Got 6 sprints with one at the end obviously being the finish, so there's actually 7 sprints. Certainly a lot of points on offer and also time bonuses.
When they came to the first intermediate sprint of the day, it was Kate Perry picking up the bonus points on offer. A group of 6 riders formed off the front of the main field. They stretched their lead out to 1 minute and 30 seconds as they passed some of the monuments of Canberra. Lynn Clark from Boss Racing was very prominent in the next bunch of intermediate sprints, picking up lots of time bonuses.
Yeah, I've come through with the Sprinters jersey so far, so yeah, it's quite exciting. It's only my 3rd NRS, so I'm pretty excited to be in that position.
The fast-moving peloton closed in on the breakaway group, and shortly before the finish, it was all back together.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting finish actually. It was very, very fast approach into Stromlo Forest Park and up a little climb. Lucy, another local rider from Bike Superstore, she went and she got a really great gap.
And she was hoping to hold on for a solo victory. But the powerful track specialist Rebecca Wysack had other plans. As she came around the final turn, she closed down Betchel to sprint past to take the stage victory.
Amazing. Seriously, when you went with Lou, that's perfect. That's exactly what I told you. Heard Kendall yelling at like, you got to go, and was able to punch on top of her, and I think able to raise 2 hands in the air for the very first time, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Ruth Corset extends her lead in the CIC Australia Leaders Competition by 11 seconds to Ainsley Backer and 27 seconds to Lucy Betchel.
Stage 3, 75 kilometres with 6 intermediate sprints, 3 seconds for if you win it, which will be hard with only a 6-second lead over Joe Cooper, and I think Avanti will try and use their numbers against us, but I think we'll give it a red hot crack to try and hold on to the lead, but I'm happy where I am. I've got nothing to lose, so I'm happy.
Almost immediately after the start, the attacks started coming thick and fast. Not long after the first intermediate sprint, a group of 6 riders formed off the front of the main field and started working very well together.
Towards the tail end, I guess a couple of guys had their stage ambitions, starting to switch on and get their tactics ready.
With a furious pace, the riders weren't thinking too much about the beautiful scenery around them as they went past Parliament House and along the shores of Lake Burley Griffin. As the gap to the lead group started to open up, the race leader Lucas Hamilton was showing signs of nervousness. As the peloton went into the tunnel, there was drama as the race leader Lucas Hamilton crashed heavily onto his face.
Unfortunately, there was just a pothole that no one saw, and he sort of hit that and went over the handlebars and had a really nasty crash.
And after being tended to by medical services, he was forced to withdraw from the event. Out of respect to the yellow jersey, the peloton eased its pace off, which allowed the breakaway group to go out to a 2-minute lead. Eventually, the peloton did start chasing again, but they wouldn't catch the leaders as the breakaway group came into Stromlo Forest Park. And in the final sprint to the line, it was Josh Taylor from Charter Mason coming away with the stage win, ahead of African Wildlife Safari's Pat Lane, and third was Matt Clark from Avanti Racing.
Oh, unreal, mate, unreal. I didn't think that break would stay, but yeah, it did, so unreal.
With another race leader abandoning the event, Joe Cooper now inherits the overall race lead. The final stage of the National Capital Tour is a criterium on the purpose-built criterium course here at Stromlo Forest Park. Now for the women, it's 30 laps, which equals 37 kilometres. Ruth Corset has a pretty handy lead in the overall classification, but all the sprinters will certainly be firing on this short and fast stage. Once again, it was a fast and furious start to the women's final stage of the National Capital Tour. As they went round the very picturesque Stromlo Forest Criterium course, the attacks came very early on. Even though there'd been several attacks throughout the stage, nothing was able to stick, and it was all back together as they came to the last lap of the race. Motoring around the final turn up into the finish line, it was clear Rebecca Wysack was going to go back-to-back after winning stage 3. She sprints to the line to pick up stage 4 as well, just in front of her teammate Kendall Hodges and the yellow jersey wearer of Ruth Corset.
2 years ago when I last raced here in Canberra at the National Capital Tour, I did the double on the Sunday, and all week I've kind of been thinking about it, but I can't thank my team enough. We got Ruby in as a guest rider this weekend, and Kendall actually got second in the sprint finish today, so to go 1-2 for High Five Dream Team is just an absolute amazing result.
The overall victory in the CIC National Capital Tour goes to Ruth Corset, 13 seconds ahead of Ainsley Backer and 29 seconds ahead of Lucy Bechtel. After a strong performance over the weekend, Lynn Clark wins the VI 13 sprint classification. The best climber over the weekend was Ruth Corset, winning the Rolf Subaru Climbers Championship. Crossing from triathlon to cycling, Ainsley Backer from Queensland takes out the Tiffin & Co Young Rider Award. The Queensland Emerging Talent Squad team took out the team's classification. With one round remaining for the women in the Subaru National Road Series, it's Ruth Corset out in front on 62 points, ahead of Georgia Baker on 44, Ashley Ann Kudinoff is on 26, and Lucy Caldwell on 25.
Time gap currently for GC is Matt Clark, I think at 5 seconds, and Pat Lane, who moved himself to within 6 seconds. So, I mean, the top 3 is, you can throw a blanket over it, really.
After a fast start, a few of the early attacks failed, and then Sean Lake, 4th in the overall classification, went on the march.
It was good, me being up the road, putting a bit of pressure on them, and quite a few joined, and it was a strong break.
With it looking like Avanti not too concerned with bringing the breakaway group back, Budget Forklift then took over the pace setting to bring it back for their man, Scott Sunderland. Just as the breakaway group was about to get caught, the final desperate move came from Nathan Elliott from Navitas Saddlist, with only a couple of laps remaining. As they came down the back straight on the final lap, the race was all back together and it looked as if Budget was setting up their man Sunderland. As they came around the last corner, it was Sam Whitmitz from Budget Forklifts hitting out early. His teammate Scott Sunderland going over the top and sprinting easily to victory in front of Whitmitz, and Michael Schweitzer from African Wildlife Safaris third.
It's great to be in a great environment with Budget Forklift and with the transition from sprinting, it just keeps getting better and better, and really enjoy being in the team.
After the misfortune of two previous leaders, Joe Cooper from Avanti Racing takes out the CIC Australia National Capital Tour 5 seconds ahead of his teammate Matthew Clark, and African Wildlife Safaris rider Patrick Lane was third at 6 seconds.
Tour of Canberra is sort of missing from my CV, so it's another one on the NRS calendar I can say I've won, and there's only one or two other events I haven't won, so next year they're on the radar.
Patrick Lane takes out the VI 13 sprint classification. The young New Zealander from Oliver's Real Food Racing, Ryan Christensen, takes out the Rolf Subaru King of the Mountains competition. Navitas Satellites are happy with their young rider Ben O'Connor as he took out the Tiffin & Co Young Riders Award. In the team's classification, it was once again the strong New Zealand outfit Avanti Racing. Injured for now, but still leading the overall series, Patrick Bevan sits on 82 points, ahead of African Wildlife Safaris' Michael Schweitzer, and Bevan's Avanti Racing teammate Joe Cooper sits third. For Ruth Corset and the rest of the women's peloton of the Subaru National Road Series, they now have 4 weeks to prepare for the final round of the series, the Tour of the Goldfields. However, for the men, we'll see them at the Jayco Tour of Tasmania in 2 weeks. Hopefully we'll see you then as well.